everybody. Welcome back to the Gentleman's Bureau broadcast. A little something different today. We're joined with Karl Steffens, a guy I know from college. We went to school together. Funny story. So he was in the production of Heathers, and he used there was a profile picture of him and one of his co-stars. So at a different show, I turned around and I said, "Hey, you're Jordan, right? Jordan Nazos?" And he's like, "No, I'm Karl." And I'm like, "Oh, what?" But it was just the co-star from the profile picture was actually the Jordan. My bad, but that's how I met Karl. And now he's here on the podcast to tell us about what's going on in his neck of the woods.
Yeah, well, so I've actually, for the past 2 years, after I graduated Carthage, I moved to Arizona to pursue a master's degree. So that's what I've been up to, and I just graduated from that. I was studying music composition. So yeah, just finished that, and COVID hit right, a couple months before graduation. So I graduated online, and I stayed in Arizona for a little while, but then in July I moved back in with my parents in Indiana. So I'm in Indiana, Valparaiso, Indiana right now. Just kind of hanging out. So yeah.
Nice. Hell yeah. I like it. Music.
Yeah.
I think it's something we can all appreciate here. Maybe not Jed, but
yeah, I like music. I played tuba. Come on.
You played tuba?
Yeah, just so I can go on the band trips.
Just so.
Well, at Carthage, my degree was tuba performance. So I don't know if you knew.
Oh, very cool. Did you know Ethan Kozlowski?
Yeah.
Me and him are really good friends. He's got his senior recital coming up on Sunday.
Yep. I'm
really good guy.
Watching that. Yeah, I love Ethan. He's a great guy.
Great guy. But so what's COVID like in Indiana right now? People actually wearing their masks, or are they just saying heck it?
For the most part, everybody's wearing masks, from what I can tell. I mean, honestly, I don't go out much. I wasn't raised here, so I don't know the area super well. So I've pretty much just gone to the grocery store a couple times, but for the most part, I just kind of stay in my house. But from what I've seen, yeah, people are wearing masks and respecting social distancing in that capacity. But actually, something I did notice, it was kind of interesting. So I moved back to Indiana from Arizona, so I did that drive back in July.
Oh my God.
And it was, it's a long drive. I split it up into, I stopped in Texas and hung out with some friends for a couple days. So, but of driving, there were three days straight of driving basically. But anyways, it was kind of interesting to see at that point during the lockdown COVID situation, which places people would be wearing masks and which places they wouldn't. I remember stopping in Arkansas and there was no mask requirement. Same with Missouri. It was Missouri and Arkansas. Nobody, gas stations I stopped at, there was no requirement to wear a mask. People were in there. Some people would wear masks. I mean, I walked in with my mask on, but some people would, some people wouldn't. But Texas was actually pretty good about mask wearing. I think New Mexico was as well. And then when I got into Illinois, Illinois had the requirement at that time. So
you went straight east and then north, right?
So I went, I took kind of a roundabout way because I wanted to camp in New Mexico and then visit my friend who I had gone to ASU with, Arizona State, who is now living in Texas because everything is remote. So I visited her for a couple days and then went and visited stayed with a friend's parents in Arkansas, and then got all the way back up to Illinois. So it was I went down through Tucson. I started in the Phoenix area, went down through Tucson, through New Mexico, bottom of New Mexico, and then straight through Texas, and stopped in the Austin area. And then I went north up through Arkansas, and then a little bit through Missouri, straight up through Illinois, and then into Indiana. So that was my journey.
Nice. I like that you kind of, it's like, hey, I got to move back, but I might as well enjoy the trip. That's kind of cool.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, you gotta take advantage of those long road trips.
Well,
Stop wherever you can.
Yeah, I get Arkansas, Missouri, areas not really requiring masks because they really don't have teeth either. So just go at your own pace.
Right. Yeah, I have noticed too. Like when I go back to like rural Illinois, where we're all from, actually, like nobody wears masks there. Like you'll be at the bar and everybody will be like shoulder to shoulder having a beer with each other, and like nobody cares. And it's like, these are places that don't get a lot of traffic. So like there's no one to really bring it in. As much as like up here in Wisconsin, I'm still in like the Kenosha Racine area, so it's still pretty mask heavy up here. And I mean, I work at Amazon, so everybody's got a mask on there at all times. It's ridiculous.
No. Here in Germany, where I'm at, just today they went red again. So like all the restaurants, bars, stores, well, not stores, but non-essential businesses, they just shut them down. So it's all locked down right now.
Just as of like today or this week?
As of today, yeah. It's been red for a few days, and I guess the government was just like debating what are we gonna do. So that's the plan, I guess. So, but I found it a lot interesting because in Switzerland, even though we were red all over it, Switzerland, like, they didn't require any masks. That we were in the bar, like, just shoulder to shoulder. It was, it's weird, man. Like different countries, it's just crazy. I don't know. Different legislations. But.
Yeah, I also just love how you going to Switzerland to go to a bar is equivalent in travel time, basically, to me going back home to Illinois. Like one state over for me, one country over for you, about the same, whatever.
Yeah. Here, I hate to say it, but it's getting a little bit worse. And Japan's been talking about reconfiguring the rules of what classifies red, what classifies like yellow, emergency or not, because they're like, oh, we've had so many cases, but we don't want to like shut down again. So, unfortunately, I had a coworker that had corona, and he's like 70 years old, pretty badass motherfucker actually. Like, I think he's old school mafia, like went in prison for a really long time, came out, now he's just like trying to live his life. And he caught corona, and we had to shut down for a couple, like 5 days or so. I had to like just stay at home and shit, and then get tested. Corona free, thank God. But damn, yeah. Now I don't know what's really going to happen from day to day. I think, unfortunately, I really think that we're going to shut down again. But they're trying to like prolong it until that point. And I'm like sitting here like, maybe we should do it already.
Right, yeah. Get ahead of it instead of waiting for it to be a real problem, preemptive strike.
Now, does Japan have any type of stimulus plan at all for their citizens, or?
Yeah, so anybody that paid taxes got $1,000 back in June. Like it wasn't just people that paid taxes, I guess. So anybody that was over like 1.5 years old got $1,000. But they're like, no, nobody else, no more stimulus, nothing like that. The prime minister that gave that stimulus package resigned because of his Crohn's, basically, or inflamed gallbladder or something like that.
Yeah,
it was too much.
Shitting too much to do my job. I gotta go home.
Exactly. It became to the point, like, it was before he ran for prime minister that they said it was a problem, and then now he's like, I need an escape plan. This is what I'm thinking. I need an escape plan so all of this doesn't look bad on me, so I can run later for prime minister kind of thing. Because you can only run so many years in a row, kind of thing, but you can run your whole life, basically.
Yeah.
Another rant I won't get on, but so his second in command is kind of taking all this shit now for everything that's going bad, and he's not giving stimulus package or anything like that. So, but Japan was one of the few countries that actually sent out, every household got 2 masks, courtesy of the government. Sent out 2 masks. Crazy,
Pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Huh. I feel like there's a lot of weight on these leaders' shoulders because, you know, you look to them for like, hey, are we going to have stimulus? Are we not? Are we going to open the economy? Are we not? Are we looking at it? To me, it kind of looks like, are you more towards the economy doing better, or are you more towards keeping people healthy? And like it's a double-edged sword because no matter what you do, one is not going to be entirely recovered, if you get what I mean. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you save the lives to sacrifice the livelihood, then, you know, they're alive, yeah, sure, but, you know, they don't have jobs, they can't eat, they can't pay rent, their houses, they can't pay rent. Exactly. So, I mean, it's a really delicate balance here during this pandemic, and it's I wouldn't want to be in charge right now. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I'd probably just be like, don't sneeze on each other, have a good time.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course.
But yeah, Carl, so what's the plan? You know, like obviously right now COVID, you know, sucks, but like when COVID's over, what are you hoping to do with your degree?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, had COVID not happened, my plan was to get a job, get like some kind of teaching job, teaching music theory, or, you know, music appreciation, or, you know, some kind of class like that at like a community college, or, you know, wherever I could find a job that didn't require a doctorate degree. But you know, besides that, just trying to keep up with doing various music things. I mean, it's part of the whole artist I don't know, lifestyle. Like you kind of just like do a little bit here, a little bit there, and you're just kind of bouncing around from project.
Yep.
So but yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you did mostly tuba in college, but what other instruments do you play?
So I play guitar and bass. Not upright bass, but like electric bass. I started playing electric bass in 7th grade and then learned guitar shortly after that and joined like metal bands and stuff. So, yeah. But I also, I sing. I was in choir at Carthage, and what else? Oh yeah, I took harp lessons when I was at Carthage. So I played harp for about 5 years. I haven't played in a couple of years because I didn't have access to a harp in Arizona. But yeah, before that I played harp, and I've been trying to learn mandolin recently, and I took accordion lessons at Carthage too for a German credit.
There you go. Deutschland.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify, mandolin, that's kind of like an Asian kind of guitar, right?
Not quite. It's used, I think it's Italian in origin, but it's used in Irish folk music. It's used in a lot of like folk music kind of genres, European folk music. It's tuned like a violin, but the strings, there are 4 courses, and each course has 2 strings that are tuned to the same pitch, which affects the timbre. Actually, I can grab
Yes.
mine.
Yeah, of
Please
course,
do.
man.
I'm pretty sure Skyrim. Like, have you played Skyrim, Jed?
No,
Is it
I've never
bad?
played Skyrim. It's only been out for freaking 8 years.
Well,
Yes, I've played Skyrim.
I think you would hear this instrument on Skyrim.
What are you talking about? Never heard of it.
Oh, sweet. That's great.
So yeah, this is a mandolin. It's pretty small, but you can see like there's 8 tuning pegs, but there are 4 strings, 4 courses, what they're called, tuned in fifths. So yeah, that's kind of the
Okay, this is gonna be really silly, Carl. But can you play "Smoke on the Water" on the mandolin?
That is no.
Is that the one that's like bum
We
bum 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 bum?
Yep.
Oh shit, we're demonetized
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
All right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Very cool.
What's your favorite genre? Your favorite band? Anything?
I feel like this is gonna be really hard for somebody that's in love with music more than.
That's why I asked. There's
Yeah,
typically
it
no
is.
answer.
It's a tough question. I mean, there's so much good music from like all of the different, realms of music that are out there. I mean, like probably my personal favorite is like just a lot of metal music because that's kind of what I was really into through high school and everything. I like gent
I love this guy.
music a lot. Are you guys familiar with the term gent music?
Personally,
Gent
no.
music.
So
No.
that is it's it's like progressive metal, I guess. But there's a very distinct like guitar tone that all of the gent bands utilize. If you've ever heard of the band Meshuggah, they were kind of like the first gent band.
Okay.
Usually like really low tuned guitars, so like 7 strings, 8-string guitars. It's usually rhythmically really complex. There's a lot of polyrhythms, and I don't know. It's just the guitar tone is very distinct, and that's actually the reason that the genre is called gent, is because the guitars when you mute them, they sound kind of like gent 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 gent.
No, okay.
It's a lot of that,
Okay.
like that
That
sort of
makes sense.
stuff.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so some good bands to check out within that genre would be Meshuggah for sure, Periphery, Animals as Leaders. I would put them into that category as well. Tesseract is another one. There's a lot of those kind of bands. So those
Okay.
are cool.
Adding that to my Google. What's
Yeah,
up?
sure, for
Yeah, I
sure.
wrote that down.
But then just
Have to
like
check that
general
out.
like death metal, hardcore kind of stuff is fun.
Yeah, man.
But I've actually like recently I've gotten really into folk music because actually so when I moved to Arizona, I moved in with another Arizona State student at the time who I didn't know before, but it just so happened that he was a guitar player, classical guitar student at ASU. But he actually is a penny whistle player. His name is Ryan Rubison, and he so a penny whistle is an Irish flute. Usually they're actually made out of brass, even though they're also called penny whistles or tin whistles. But he wanted to start jamming like some Irish music, Irish folk music. So that's kind of how I got into that, and I started accompanying him on guitar while he would play the penny whistle, and then that's kind of when I started learning mandolin. So this is actually he let me borrow this when I moved away. So, but
Nice.
I'll give you a taste of Irish music. It's kind of like
Oh yes.
it's
Oh,
that kind
yeah.
of stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Hell
Need
yeah.
Jameson now. What's up?
Feel good. Yeah, right.
Get me
Nice.
Jameson, Patrick.
I feel like are you a Jethro Tull guy?
Not really.
No.
I mean, not that I'm not. I just never really gotten into him before.
No.
So.
I
Just reminded me
actually
of it.
I've been listening to folk music as of late. I was just talking to Jed about this maybe 30 minutes ago or so, and damn, like I loved that you showed up today and you had this instrument and everything. I was like, oh my god, this must be fate, fate,
Right.
you know.
It's really cool how it kind of tied in, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. And I mean, but like the folk music I've been listening to is like more rednecky-ish. unfortunately.
Well, like bluegrass or?
Yeah, more bluegrass, more like transient, homeless man music.
Oh, that's
You know,
great.
I love it. There's this person I've been listening to. I gotta plug him. Like, I don't know if anybody else has been listening to him, but Benjamin Todd.
I've heard the
He
name.
does a lot of like folk music, and it's fucking, oh my god, it's amazing. He plays like banjo and guitar and stuff,
Gotta
but
write
then
that down.
like he'll play with other people, or his band is like Lost Dog street band.
Lost Dogs.
Um, and he'll play with other people that have those type of instruments, like the classic Irish, folky music, and like banjo, everything like that. And damn, like, I'm so happy that you're on today. Thank you so much for coming here, because it just makes me feel like I should be listening to this music because you're here today. Makes me
Absolutely.
happy.
Yeah. Some other folk artists that I've been getting into recently are Billy Strings. You've ever heard of Billy Strings?
Yeah. The
Feel
Let the
Good.
Cocaine Be, right? I love that song.
Yeah, I think that sounds like something he would. He has a
Yeah.
song called "Dust in a Baggie," and it's
Dust in a
about
Bag.
That's my favorite.
yeah, and yeah, great musician though, really great musician. It's just like a quartet. It's like him, Billy plays guitar usually and sings, and then like a mandolin player, a stand-up bass player, and a banjo player, I think. Yeah, and then there's also this guy I'm in love with, Chris Thiele. He's a mandolin player, and he was like raised in like a traditional like classical I don't know, like training, but also like does a lot of folk music kind of stuff. So he like plays like Bach on mandolin, like stuff that was written for violin, but he'll just like play it on mandolin instead because the tuning's the same. But then he'll go and do like he's got a lot of different bands. He'll play like some like folk music, bluegrass kind of stuff. He'll also do some fusion stuff. Have you guys heard of the cello player Yo-Yo Ma? He's like one of the most famous cello players out there. Well,
In Japan, you
think
can't
so,
go
yeah.
without hearing about him.
oh sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Asian.
he Chris Thiele, Yo-Yo Ma, and some other artists from bluegrass and classical, they came together and did a project called the Goat Rodeo Sessions, which is so good. And it's like it's like genre fusion between bluegrass and I don't know, like contemporary classical music, I guess. So super good. Would highly recommend Goat Rodeo Sessions. Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah.
All right, boys. Not to change topics so dramatically on you, but all this talk of mandolins got me thinking about the Mandalorian, because we're like 2 days away from, one day it's tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow the new season comes out. And I was just thinking how funny it would be if somebody did like a spin-off of the Mandolinian. So like he goes around solving problems with like a mandolin, just barding the story up a little bit. Be really funny.
I have yet to
Yeah.
watch that.
Great.
Is that like only available on Apple
Disney-
or
Disney Plus,
or
man.
Disney Plus.
But yeah, the
Disney
Mandalorian,
Plus.
very good.
Disney buying up everything.
Yep.
Bastards.
I was
Well, they own
mad
Star Wars.
Disney Plus came out with their own streaming service. I was like, really?
Of course.
There's too
they
many
would.
streaming services out there.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I agree with that, but also like having all of Disney on one platform, like that's all of Marvel, all of Star Wars, all the classic films. It is kind of nice. Like I'd say Disney, because like they are so big. Disney was like the one I was like okay with, but like
Yeah. They do have
everybody and their
enough
brother
content.
coming out with a new one is like Hulu and Netflix. It's like that could be one thing.
Mhm.
But then you have like Spectrum TV coming out with their own streaming service, and it's like, can we just consolidate,
Yeah.
please? Like Disney Plus, Netflix, and that's everything.
Hmm.
And then Crunchyroll for anime.
What do you get? Like, do you get to watch the new Disney movies on Disney Plus, or you have to wait like everyone else?
Well, yes and no. So there's Disney Plus, and then there's Disney Plus Premium. So Premium is what allows you to, like, as soon as something hits theaters, and actually before it hits theaters, you can watch it on Disney Plus. So like when the new Mulan came out, like days before it was in theaters, it was already on Disney Plus. It's like a premium feature. But what was annoying was you couldn't pay for the movie. You couldn't like be like, I want to watch this movie now. You'd be like, I want to be a premium member for at least a month and then cancel my subscription before you could watch it. And it's like, I'd pay like $6 just to watch this one movie right now, but I'm not gonna pay like an extra $6 a month to be able to watch one movie every once in a while early. It's like, come on.
Yeah, I heard with the Mulan movie that you had to pay like $30 to watch, to like get access through Disney Plus to the Mulan movie, like when it first came out.
Jesus.
It was something like that. It was like a much higher number than more than like a movie ticket,
Yeah.
I mean, like if you're sharing the account with people, then that's probably what they were accounting for, because a lot of people, it's like a family account or whatever.
Yeah. Honestly though, like, who wanted to watch the new Mulan that much?
Not really.
Not when I found out what was in the background.
Yeah, like they literally left the concentration camp in the background.
Some controversy there.
Yeah, we've touched on it before in the podcast. It's just ridiculous what's going on in China right now.
Maybe your friend will want to work there someday, so we'll just bruise over that.
Yeah.
Over that. With Mulan though, being at home access, I guess, theaters even open where you guys are?
Yes.
I actually don't know. I haven't even checked to see.
They were till today.
Well, they are, but you have to sit like 2 or 3 seats apart from each other in the theater here in Japan. Which I'll tell you guys, if you don't know, like if I ever feel homesick or like I feel like going back home or something like that, like I go to the theater because all theaters, like, they look alike, and I can think that I'm home kind of thing. Because I used to go to the theater a lot, like in college and high school and stuff. I used to watch a lot of movies because I thought it was fun. Like I would do like 3 movies in one day, just because I had the time. Yeah. And like if I ever get homesick, like that's kind of something I do. I go to the movie theater and I just watch a couple movies or something like that. Because I don't know, it just like takes me to that place because they all look alike, they all feel alike, kind of thing.
Yeah, the lights go off and you could be anywhere.
Yeah, exactly, and it feels like homey and warm because I can still get English-speaking movies with Japanese subtitles here in Japan, so that's wonderful.
I don't know what movie theaters you're going to, but they're always cold as fuck when I go. Which I like. I like it cold personally, but.
I wish it was cold. The whole island, I mean, you got to remember, I'm really close to the equator. It's like tip of Florida and Okinawa, kind of the same. So I'm down there.
You're the Florida man?
Oh, no.
Okinawa man on the loose.
Okinawa man. Mock-san.
Sure crazy shit. Yeah. Mr. Mock-san fucking wrestled a escaped monkey from the zoo or something. Jesus Christ. that'd be my luck, of course. But yeah, it's just my thing. Like, so yeah, we kind of have theaters open. They're kind of very limited. And you guys are no theaters in Germany, it seems like, and maybe a little bit in Wisconsin.
Yeah, in Wisconsin, I haven't been personally, but I would imagine it'd be like, third the capacity, half the seats marked off as like, separations and stuff. I've been wanting to go. It's just like, I've been having my move and changing job locations. So it's like I haven't really had the time. But once things get settled down, I do plan on like, going and seeing one of these new movies coming out, because there's actually some good movies coming out. At least they look good from what I've seen of the trailers in the next few months. But yeah, what's up in Indiana? Do you go to movies a lot, Karl?
I haven't been to any movies since lockdown, so I don't even remember what the last movie I saw in theaters was. But I mean, before COVID hit, whenever I would visit my folks for holidays and stuff, we would usually, like around Christmas time, that's kind of the classic, like a lot of movies coming out, people are with their families, so we would always go see movies when I would be home for Christmas break and stuff. But yeah, since COVID, I haven't seen anything. I don't even know what's out right now.
Yeah,
I know
what's coming out.
Tenet came out not too long ago, and that one looked pretty cool. It had to do with like time travel, but like it was more like some things are moving forward through time and other things are moving backwards through time, and there was people that like were interacting with both. And it looked really cool. It kind of looked like a mind fuck. I was gonna go watch that in theaters, but then time came and went.
Mm-hmm.
My wife
Like
wants to see that. It's still out here. But yeah, unfortunately, we get movies way later than you guys because we have to wait for the subtitles or the
sure.
dubs.
I'll be sure to spoil any movie that you're going to go see.
Yeah,
I hate you. Of course. But yeah, we go to the movie theater, and it seems like every movie that we go to see is like 4 months after it's released in the States. But yeah, Tenet was like a big one that my other half wanted to see, and but the last one I seen was Old Boys. You know that one?
I haven't
Seth
seen
Rogen's,
it, but I know.
like Seth Rogen had with like some kids or something.
Oh, you mean Good Old Boys?
Good Old Boys. Okay.
And it was focused on
yeah.
those kids, and they like had to like go rob that fraternity of drugs with like a paintball gun and shit.
Yeah, IRL.
That one was hilarious, dude. That was so funny. And they just wanted the drone. They just had to get the drone back.
It's nuts. But Lane's gonna try to. He's our engineer.
Editor,
Yeah,
so.
Skype, like, I don't know, our audio files sometimes get corrupted, but I patch it together most of the time. Yeah, but I did want to ask you, because I have a lot of music friends, and the one thing that gets to me...
You don't have friends.
You're right. The one thing that gets to me is today's music. It irritates the hell out of me that it's just, it seems like it's just repeated lines, repeated words, and repeated beats. And I truly believe that old music is better than today's music. Mainstream music, I should say. People are producing good music. Just you got to look for it, Like when I listen to Rush, I listen for timing. I listen for the emotions. I listen for all of that, which makes it a masterpiece, right? But it seems like today's music just lacks that. So from a musical theory point of view, what do you have to say about today's music and moving forward with it?
That is a good question. That is a really hard question. I do have a lot of thoughts on this. I'm just not sure how to organize them. So I think part of the thing to keep in mind is that, I mean, the world is so different now from where it was like 20 years ago. And so the way that people make music is different. The society they're making music inside of is different. Like the music industry is different. A lot of people have access to have the ability to just in their own home make music. But for the most part, like a lot of these mainstream artists, they're having music written for them by, like people in Sweden. I think it's Sweden. Yeah, Sweden. A lot of the like top 10 hits from the past, I don't know, however many years, were written by Swedish songwriters, like pop music writers. So I mean, like the way we're consuming music is just different because there's streaming, and like iTunes and Spotify, all these kind of things, people don't really listen to the music on the radio anymore. I mean, but the radio had an influence on like the length of songs for the most part. Like music started, like songs or tracks started getting shorter.
Right.
And even before that, on vinyl, like people were restricted to how much music they could fit on one side, you know, of a disc. But prior to recording technology, it was all about like writing music that, you know, I can sit in a concert hall and listen to, you know, for however amount of time. So just the way people consume music affects that. So it's hard to say exactly how that's affected like pop music and everything, but you asked about music theory. So the music theoretical aspect of it is there is still a lot to appreciate, I think, about like mainstream pop music. The stuff, for the most part, stuff that is mass produced or like produced for the like ultra mainstream, like I also tend to not really vibe with. I like to kind of stay on the fringes and like find what really speaks to me personally. But there is still value to that music. Oh, man, it's really hard for me to specifically. I don't know. It'd be easier if I was talking about a specific like artist or a specific genre. There's just so much out there, and it's hard
about
to
like rap. Like
Right.
like rap has gotten really bad right now.
Well, okay, wait. Before we get on that, so we were talking about like the repetitive patterns in music, right? With whatever genre or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds me of like the old school like monks, like the mantras, where they became repetitive, and it was kind of musical, you know, and like in the way that they speak, the way that they give their sermons or something like that, you know, like religiously.
Mm-hmm.
It throws a lot of people in this like trance-like state. So I think that's something that actually has going for it. Some people really like to be in this trance-like state. Mm-hmm. So I can't fully condemn the rap or the, you know, XYZ, you know, genre or musical song.
Mm-hmm.
Because of those things, they have some sort of tie in with historical value and what we are sitting at with now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and my personal philosophy is like we should celebrate music from all like paths, all sides of things. There's poorly crafted music out there from any genre. But also from any genre we can get like really good music. So like there is like pop music out there that I'll hear and I'll be like, whoa, like this is awesome. There's a lot of really awesome rap out there as well. And I was never really into rap. It was just never a part of, you know, my musical environment. But more recently I've gained an appreciation for it. Like artists like Childish Gambino and Kendrick Lamar, those are the two that I find immediately. Like they're great artists. What?
Yeah, I do
like
like
Cole?
Kendrick.
I don't really know him.
I would look him up. He's kind of in the same lines as Kendrick and Donald Glover.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I like about them versus a lot of other rappers is they tell a story. You know, you can listen to it. You can understand what they're getting at. You know, it's not just like pussy, drugs, weed, you know, it's like...
That's what I was getting at.
That's the shit that's like, what are you putting into the culture? You know, what are you contributing to society? It's noise.
Yeah, with modern rap, I feel like I didn't give a shit about any modern rapper until I started listening to Post Malone. I think has some value amongst everybody else. I really like him above others.
He sounds like a goat whenever he does his Like,
Well, he's auto-tuned and all that.
I love it.
He
I
has
haven't
a like
listened to Post Malone. I need
Texas
to.
slang. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He's
you
a
should
cool
totally
guy.
check.
He used to play like basketball in like college.
Oh yeah,
And
did you
I-
hang out with him, Jed? Did you? You guys bowling up on the court?
Yeah, man. Me and Posty were.
He's a
were
great
basketball.
guy, really. I mean, just
Oh, on the gram.
No, he's got posty status over here, Jed. Look at him.
yeah, right.
No, like I've just like read up on him a little bit because like he's got an interesting story and he's an interesting person.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody with face tattoos is an interesting person. Or a
Yeah,
gangster,
anybody that's
or both.
willing to go that far out and like that man is more tattooed than he has anything else. Let's be honest right now. That man is 90% tattoo, 10% human, and I gotta like him. Unfortunately, he's love him or hate him. I gotta love him. Shit.
I mean, he likes Bud Light. He drinks Bud Light. He has all the money that he needs to drink whatever he wants, and he drinks Bud Light. You gotta respect
Exactly.
So relatable.
Working hero, working class
Right?
hero, right there.
Working class.
I'm not back at Bud Light. Fuck.
On the topic of repetition that Mark
Yeah.
kind of brought up, that's actually one of the aspects of like mainstream music and like dance music and stuff that I think is kind of interesting because it speaks to the way music has changed, which is kind of what I was like trying to talk about earlier. Because a lot of people are putting a lot of effort into like getting the exact right like bass drum tone or like this synthesizer just this way or whatever it is. So it's kind of about that aspect of the craft. It's like, yeah, you're hearing this bass drum hit you over and over, but that you're hearing a bass drum that's been so perfectly engineered in the mind of whoever was the producer or whatever. There's kind of that aspect to it as well. So like there's this attention to timbre, musical timbre, which is like the way an instrument sounds, that we can have now because of like electronic means. So that's kind of something that's interesting, I think. And I mean, repetition is always going to be a feature of music, either by making something intentionally repetitive or by intentionally making something not repetitive. That's always kind of a parameter that musicians will be playing with. So we're just kind of at a place where there are some genres of music where repetition is like an integral feature of the music. Like it's just a characteristic part of the genre.
Right.
So
I mean, like you've seen, like Ice Baby. Like the beat to Ice Baby and like the lawsuit.
yeah,
With, Under Pressure
yes,
and all that. That's kind of what I was referring to with the similarities between it. There's like gray areas where it's like, oh, there's so many beats and oh, this sounds like this. And but aside from that, I wanted to get your take on. So my buddy, he's been in multiple bands. He's a percussionist, a drummer. We were talking about what you were just discussing with the digital beats, right? Like you can down just right, but it sounds better. Like I had to talk with him. He's like, it sounds better if it's just slightly off, or it's just more natural than just like a boom, 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 boom from a computer. And what are your thoughts on the natural beat as opposed to like a programmed, computerized beat?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you're talking about the timing of it.
Timing, yeah.
So I took a class when I was doing my master's degree. One of the first classes I took was called Groove, Swing, and Micro Timing, and it was about music that has a groove. And we did talk about this kind of discrepancy, or not discrepancy isn't the right word, but this difference between how music affects you when you're hearing something that's perfectly in line with the grid versus music that kind of like shifts with the beat. So like funk music, does have that shifting a lot. It's more organic sort of in that way.
Right.
Because you'll be anticipating beat 1 of the next measure, but you're anticipating it so much that you're actually like hitting it on beat 4, or you're hitting it like on the end of 4. So for example, like if it was like 1, 2, 3, da, 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 something like that. So you're kind of like shifting where beat 1 is or where beat 4 is, to kind of create this groove. So that's like one way of doing it. And then the other side of the coin would be like having everything be exactly precise. And actually, I think I mentioned djent music earlier, which is like a metal subgenre. Having everything in line with the grid for the drums and the guitars and everything, that's actually a big feature of that genre as well. The rhythms are usually like a lot more complex, which is why things need to be in line. Otherwise, it'll just sound like a mess. But that is also kind of another genre of music where there's this like precision, this attention to. Dude, cats are beautiful.
She's a Maine Coon. Not like me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
Those cats are
It's a
awesome.
big cat,
Dude,
man.
she's
It's
awesome.
a huge cat.
I was listening though.
Yeah, when I lived in Arizona, my roommate had a Siberian forest cat, the most beautiful creature I've ever seen.
Do they have the ear tufts too?
No, it's kind of like normal cat ears, but like it's long hair,
Shaggy.
super soft, beautiful cat.
I'm definitely more of a dog person myself, but I do appreciate cats.
Oh, what's the name? What's the cat's name?
Oh, he doesn't have his headphones
Y'all
on.
know?
I can't remember. Mark, do you know his cat's name?
She's mad.
Satan.
Satan? No, I don't think that's it.
I have a friend whose cat's name is Lucifer.
Lucifer.
That's Jordan Nalzo.
F-U-R.
Her cat is named.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Lane, what's your cat's name?
Nala.
Nala, like
Yeah.
Lion King.
Lion King, yeah.
Nice.
That's it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, did you hear about Marie Treadway in Chicago Med? She's in Chicago Med, the TV show.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that's incredible.
Congrats to her.
Good for her.
She was. I was always really impressed with her acting ability, and just her as a person. She's a great person.
She's a great person. So I'm really happy for her. I'm jealous, of course, but like really happy for her.
Yeah, that's cool. But anyways, back to me nerding out about like rhythm.
The beats.
Yeah. I'll try to wrap this portion up, but yeah. But so this aspect of whether the rhythm is perfectly in line with the grid or whether it's like offset by some amount, that's just another musical parameter that can be played with, and it'll affect the listener in different ways. So like music where everything's on the grid is going to sound more robotic, and if that's kind of in my opinion at least, I mean everybody might feel slightly differently about it, but to me it sounds more mechanical, robotic, processed, and if that's what the artist is wanting to express, I mean that's a good thing to know. So like if you want to express music that's mechanical, then you approach it from this angle. But then more organic music is going to have the kind of a flow to it in that way. So I just think that's really interesting. And actually, one more thing. We read a paper on Kendrick Lamar, actually. Somebody wrote an academic paper analyzing the way Kendrick Lamar raps and like the rhythmic timing of it in relation to the music, with the conclusion that, or I guess, I don't know. Yeah, the conclusion was basically that he modifies the timing of certain words in a way that reflects like the meaning of the word. So like in classical music, there's this thing called word painting, which is where like if you're singing, it originated with like opera music. If you're singing and you're singing, words about like the rain coming down from the sky, and you have this melodic line that's like descending gradually, and it kind of evokes rain. So that's what word painting is.
I love that.
So in Kendrick Lamar is kind of doing this as well in rap music. I can't think of the specific examples. It was some of the stuff off of To Pimp a Butterfly, I think is the name of the album. But this author, whoever was writing about it, was making the point that he's doing this with his rap as well by these small like micro timing, or by playing with the micro timing of his rap in relation to the music. So that's also something that's interesting.
Yeah, that's
you wouldn't necessarily hear if you weren't looking for it.
Yeah, it's like another level of intelligence, like layer of music on top of music. It's just like, how can I implement the words into, which I do appreciate, which is why I love Pink Floyd and all these other old bands that had it together and were really organic,
Yeah.
And that's a really nice thing about music, is that like, some Neanderthal like myself can just be like, this sounds nice. But then you guys can like delve in deeper and we're like, yeah, this sounds nice because they're matching the timing of the words to the timing of the beat to the rhythm of the song, and weaving a giant web. And I'm just like, yeah, this sounds nice. And it's just really cool that there's like that multiple level of appreciation, depending on how interested in the, development of it you are. And that's really cool. Mark, you okay over there?
Yeah, I just somebody messaged me and the wife too, everything. But I've been listening the whole time, and I'm just blown away how much you know and how much you can, graciously dispose, upon me and my fellow peons. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you're not bored.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm not. I mean, I seem like a dick whenever I'm looking away, but yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm fully engaged. So, I've been getting into folk music off and on for about 2 years. And there's a lot of violin and like this hillbilly folk music. And I'm thinking like, well, how much of a hassle is it if I decide to play fiddle, violin? Same thing, really. Just style of playing is different, right?
Same instrument, different style.
Yeah. Am I in over my head? Is it like something I can go in like baby step, or am I thinking kind of too much about it? Should I try it or no? Like I'm just gonna ask you because you're kind of like this musical expert almost. You're a master of music almost.
Master, yes.
Or of some sort.
Yeah, I mean, on paper I'm a master of music, so yeah, you're right.
I like this guy.
Well, I have follow-up questions to that before I give you a real answer. Like what kind of musical? You said you played guitar in the past. Like what other kind of, what's like your musical background?
So I've played guitar in the past. I started at 7 and like kind of played, like had lessons, had just sort of playing in bands with my friends and things like that until from like 7 to 17, 18, really. But actually for the past 2 years, I haven't really touched a guitar, unfortunately. But that's all my musical background has really been. Has been like guitar and a little bit of percussion because I had some drums in my house. My little brother is a fucking drumming god. He's like, oh, anybody can drum, I'm like, oh, you don't understand how good you are, you idiot, But yeah, that's like my only background really is a little bit of guitar extensively, not enough to like in modern sense, and then like percussion somewhat, I guess.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of curious, like if I pursue violin, will it be more difficult because I haven't had like very many string instrument, you know, introductions, or am I thinking too much about this, kind of thing?
Yeah. So, well, do you have any experience with reading music at all, or have you mostly
Yeah.
done? Okay. So you can read treble clef,
hmm
and okay. Well, that's good because a lot of people play guitar and they mostly do tabs, or they can like kind of read, but like they mostly do by ear, which is like that's totally valid and everything.
That's how I played tuba.
Yeah, like I don't know if you think unfortunately or fortunately, the person that taught me was like, in the sense of music, he was very strict about like learning how to read music with me, but then like he had other students where he's like, just learn this song and then go about your own way. And I was like,
Sure.
wait a second here, what's going on here? Like
Yeah.
I was disappointed, but eventually I got better.
Well, that's good. That's the goal. So to finally answer your question, I would say, I mean, it's definitely within the realm of possibility. It's not going to be easy though. I don't think that you'll be able to just pick up a violin and be playing like Paganini, in a week, or a year even.
Well,
but Paganini so like nobody's as good as him. So anyway, I'm using hyperbole. But anyways, the challenging things about violin. So with guitar, you have frets like this. For anybody who watches this that isn't familiar with guitar already, you have frets which like show you where to be putting your fingers, right? But on violin, you don't have frets, so you have to develop this really kind of like intuitive sense of where all of the notes are. So that's one thing that is going to be really challenging. Another thing is, I mean, obviously you hold the instrument differently. A guitar you're having in front of you and you're playing it like this, but a violin is going to be like you're holding it under your chin and then your fingers are like this, making this kind of like weird claw. And then you have to learn how to do the bow as well. And the bow, just like holding the bow, I don't know, is its own art, and like
Very
learning how to get that to work. So those are like the challenging aspects about violin, I'd say. Since you already read music, that's a really good start though, because you can probably buy like a beginner violin book of some kind and like a cheap violin and just kind of start doing that. The other thing that's just something you'll need to wrap your head around is the fact that the strings are tuned differently. So with guitar, you have every string is tuned in fourths, except for the last two, or between G and D, which is a third. But the rest of the strings are tuned in fourths. On violin, you have the strings tuned in fifths. So it's just the notes are not gonna be necessarily where you expect. So that'll take a little bit of getting used to, if that makes any sense. So, but
yeah, that makes a little sense to my pea brain. But at least at least I learned a little bit more. Like I've been kind of cold footing this, like wading around the waters. So I wanted to. I'm so happy you're on, that I can ask somebody that knows a little bit more. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, I think you
Thank
should
you.
absolutely go for it. Just don't go into it expecting it to be easy. It'll take time, and it'll take like you really need to practice every day or like almost every day. And I would highly recommend getting some kind of teacher as well. Like maybe buy a cheap violin, and just kind of like feel it out for a little while, and make sure that you're committed to the idea before you drop money on a teacher. But violin's definitely the kind of instrument I would recommend like having a teacher, because you don't want to learn bad technique and like end up either hurting yourself, like damaging your body, or just like developing really poor technique that's going to hold you back in the future. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, with being here in Japan, I don't know what you think of it, but a lot of tiger moms, so you can't go 10 blocks without tripping over a violin teacher. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So finding one probably wouldn't be that hard. Finding somebody to teach you fiddle style,
no, that's
might be a little bit more challenging, but I mean, that's the kind of thing you can do on your own, just by like watching people on YouTube and just kind of like mimicking what they do. But in terms of like wrapping your head around the instrument, a classical teacher will do the job. So yeah.
Also,
thank you. Thank you.
I have a very rudimentary understanding of like how violins work, and because I picked up one from Amazon for like $20 one time, just to, I don't know, essentially piss off my parents, I guess. But I played around with it a little bit, and from my understanding, they're really like delicate instruments. Like the bridge that keeps the strings off of the neck has to be very accurately above the post within the chamber. Otherwise, it just sounds like cats fighting. Like it's not the kind of, like, with a cheap guitar, you can kind of toss it around, nick it up a little bit, and it'll still play fine. But with violins, you got to be really careful, because the slightest jar will knock that bridge down, or it'll just, man, they're delicate, and you need a really good support on your neck, because I've seen so many violin players at Carthage with that little like hickey that they get.
You get the hickey.
Like, so if you can find a violin in a shop, I definitely try to find one in a shop, so you can kind of find one that feels right, because you don't want to buy one on, spend like a couple $100 to buy one online, and then you get it and you're like, this just doesn't fit me personally. So
yeah, that's good.
That's what I would do.
I couldn't start out with like a cheaper one that I find online, and then you go somewhere.
I think you could. I think you could.
Yeah.
But Jed's right about the, thinking about how it's going to feel. Like, because if you're playing for every day for years, like you will. I honestly, even if you find one that fits well with like your neck, you're still going to develop some kind of
it's just like
mark.
Thicker skin. Yeah, it's like
like
thicker skin.
Huh. Yeah.
From
it's just
like a callus on your neck. It's weird.
It's just a part of being a violin player, string player.
I think it's a part of being a musician. You wear on your body, in some way, shape, or form. There's drummers that are just, their wrists are garbage by the time they're 50, and there's guitar players, their fingers are fucking
calluses and
calloused all to hell. And the hickey for the violin player, and then if you're a trumpet player, you have the I can't remember, what is this called? Like around the cheeks, you have these.
Embouchure.
Yeah. Well, that's the corner of the mouth, but yeah, I think you got like that like muscle up in your cheek. Gets like
in your cheeks you have this little puff that's always there, kind of like Santa Claus.
What that's called, but
yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. Jed hasn't informed you, but in college I didn't study the traditional route. I went to community college, and I became a funeral director. And nice. One of the things you have to learn is to reconstruct faces in case you need to eventually. And that's like the case that I took upon myself was reconstruction of a trumpet player, and he had those little muscles in his cheeks. I just can't remember of them.
I'm sorry, Mark, is your ringtone the Harry Potter theme song? That's a yes. It is.
No, it's this clock here. So
you have a Harry Potter clock?
I think the clock came before Harry Potter, actually. So there was a wedding, and everybody got this clock for a wedding gift, and like literally everybody and anybody that I know has this fucking clock. And every hour and half hour it plays some goddamn chime, and I can't help it. I can't even turn it off. There's like literally this chime or that chime you can choose from, but you can't turn it off. It's ridiculous.
I know how to turn it off.
It's some sort of Disney chime. I don't know. Yeah, fucking get rid of the clock.
That or,
Exactly.
batteries,
Fucking get rid
plug,
of the clock.
one of the two.
Yeah, it's got to run on some kind of power, right? Just cut the power source.
Runs on power from every living soul on the planet. It's a
Yeah,
slow,
the tears from hearing it over and over again just fuels it even more.
I know. Sometimes it wakes me up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, God damn it, what the fuck is going on?
What time is it in Okinawa right now?
2 o'clock, 2:01
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, so we
So-
got it's funny, it's 14 and then 7. So Lane's 7 hours ahead, and then Mark's 14 hours ahead.
Yeah, it's 6 o'clock here.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I had so when I was at ASU doing my degree, I was a teacher's assistant, and I taught my own class of what we call aural skills, which is ear training. And when we went online after COVID hit, one of my students was Japanese. He still is Japanese. It's not my student anymore. And he went home to Japan, but he tuned in a couple times to our Zoom classes, but it was always like super late at night for him because we would do them in the morning. And so eventually I just like started recording our meetings and sending them to him so he could watch them later. But anyways, this just reminded me of that fun time zone stuff.
Oh yeah, it's gonna get a little bit easier before too long. Lane's moving back stateside over to Colorado, so it'll be a little bit easier. It's still gonna have that big 14-hour gap, but we'll make do.
Yeah, we'll still
I
have
think we'll be all right.
Nice. Lane, what brought you to Germany?
What brought me to Germany? Well, I was first in Spain due to the Air Force. I was in the Air Force. Went to Spain, and then I was there for a year and a half, and then I moved to Germany. And
So it was just they stationed you at these places?
yeah. I got lucky. I got to Spain and Germany, and well, I chose Germany, and and then I met my wife here in Germany, and got married, and here we are.
And now you're to Colorado?
Moving to Denver. Yeah, should be all right.
Denver.
Should be good.
You're
your wife
not
German?
going south, Colorado?
South? No, it's just south of Denver. It's like literally, it's 10 minutes from Denver.
It's a burb,
really?
dude. It's a suburb.
He's in a burb. Oh no.
He's gonna be a burbian,
No.
Oh, get that Burbian pass.
bro. He's gonna get the
Start
the
calling
white
people cracker
new
and
walks, the jorts and the polo, and he's gonna mow his lawn, drinking Coors Light.
It's already got like 10 inches of snow, so I'm kind of
Is it really?
excited about
It's
that.
up there.
shit. Oh,
For snowboarding.
wait, dude. You know, you can get Sean Smutzer. He'll do some lawn care for
Schmutz.
you. You won't even have
Schmutz.
to. You won't even have to mow it.
No, thank
Smutz
you.
got it.
No, thanks. What did you ask? You asked.
What is your wife German?
No,
better
she's
German?
she's
Also an Air Force person?
Yeah, she's.
So from the States?
Where's she from?
Yeah,
Like,
States.
tell us. Where's she from? I don't even know.
Well, literally, not literally, but basically Canada. Like, literally, the
UP?
top of Michigan, UP, the last town before you can even touch Canada.
She's,
Across the bridge.
she's basically a Canuck.
Like they have
Does her
Jim
head
Hortons.
go a little flappy? Like,
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
beady eyes? Come on now. Be honest with me.
Her dad
Mark,
cracks
this
me
is
up.
why she's not gonna be on the podcast because you keep making fun of her.
A? Does she say A?
Her dad, big time.
Oh my god. I love it. I love it.
He's a hoot. He's funny.
A hoot? Oh man.
Oh no.
Lane, you're being
Look at
taken
Lane.
over.
Take it over. Dude.
What do you mean, eh? I'm not doing
Oh God, no. It's already begun.
Oh, snap.
Mark,
Shit.
you had a good mustache for one of your videos like 2-3 weeks ago. No, like 2 months ago actually. Can't remember which one it was, but yeah, you had a pretty nice little mustache going on, and then you shaved it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Japan. Oh, I get away with a lot because I'm a foreigner. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. But yeah, Japan's like they're the only country that can grow beards in Asia, like the yellow Asia, I should say. But they're like, no, no, Japan's like, no, beards, mustaches, all that facial hair is a bad thing. But they're like literally the only people that can like grow good facial hair of yellow Asia. Like Chinese people, no, it's like neck beards, gross shit. Like, nah, it ain't cool. Korean people, it's like, ugh, don't even try. Like that's gross. Nah, we don't like that patchy shit. Like that's really
We don't
sick.
like that patchy shit.
And Japan people can like grow like a nice full thick beard, and they're like, nope, that ain't business appropriate. That's out of our league. We can't do that. So stop right now. Go and shave that right now. And like me being American, like honestly, that's the only reason I can have long hair in my job is like because I'm American. So I have long hair and do whatever I want. And like I grow my facial hair out for quite a bit, a month or two, where it's kind of scruffy. I can, somewhat braid it. And then they're like, okay, now it's time to shave it. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. Before I get in trouble, I'll shave. And shit, it just makes me sad because I'm like, you guys could have beautiful Viking-esque beards, and you're just sitting on them. Some samurai, you know, Ronin shit, It's like, come on, do something
So
crazy.
you don't see like the old guys with like the Fu Manchu kind of like
Nah, that's
walking
Chinese.
around.
No, okay, so you see the old guys that are Chinese with those Fu Manchus because like they won't grow facial hair anywhere else but like that, and then like this really weird mustache thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like Chinese people they're here, there, like they're around, but you don't see too much of them. They're kind of like boisterous, and you ignore them mostly if they're here in Japan.
Jeez.
So Mark,
I'm just telling you the truth. But like, so they'll grow that little Fu Manchu, but then you see, and it kind of reminds you of like those Vietnamese Fu Manchus, really. But then you see like Japanese people with those really like, damn, they're amazing beards, and you think like, damn, that's some like samurai shit. Of course, whenever you see it, you're like, fuck, I wish I could do that. Like I can't even get like that thick of a beard. And they grow it out, and they like put like these little beads that are like some
Like
sort of
Captain
like
Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
yeah. They'll put like these crazy ass beads in there that are like rope and print, so they're like from some sort of era before man was living outside of caves, like that type of artwork. And they put it in their beard, and then they live this whole sort of like, I'm a farmer, but at the same time I practice like hand-to-hand combat every day to make myself better in multiple ways, and then they reserve themselves so much because they only eat like 60% of their stomach's capacity every meal, and then they reserve themselves as far as like, I could kill you, but I'd rather die than like than to take your life. Like there's people out there in Japan that live this very pure lifestyle that grow these amazing beards, and I'm like, why don't you expand this to the rest of Japan? Just the beard thing. Like I'd live with that. Just the beard. Just beard. That's all I'm asking for. Just everybody needs to have beards. We can do it. So that's my rant about beards.
So Mark, there's a big stereotype of like Americans and Caucasians in general that we can't really tell different Asian peoples apart. Have you noticed that being in Japan, that's like you've gotten better at distinguishing like Chinese from Japanese versus like Koreans?
Yeah, like sometimes. So Japan doesn't have immigration like America does. Like you can come to America if XYZ, and you can come to America for like shit, I don't know, like if you're seeking political asylum and things like that in America, right? Well, Japan doesn't have that. Japan just has work visa, and then maybe like you can get like really really lucky. I know some that are like basically lottery winners of like visa, right?
Mm.
Or they have some sort of family here, so then they get in on that aspect. So, with Japan, I work with quite a few Japanese people, and then I work with a little bit of like Philippine people and like Vietnamese people, and I kind of like you start to tell like the slight differences in their facial features, and then you can tell them apart, which I think is a little ridiculous. Like if you don't live in it, like you don't realize it, you don't see it, then maybe you won't be able to. But with Korean people, I see that they have very high cheekbones, but it's not just Korean people. It's also like Vietnamese, Laos, southern China, like very southern China, will also have very high cheekbones. And like that's like a distinctive feature. Like Philippines will be very dark people, and they'll have very round faces, things like that. So these are like slight differences that you recognize. But I see in America, like people are like, oh, that's Chinese because his eyes are like this or this or this, you know, like that's stupid because the eyes thing doesn't really make a difference at all. The only time I've ever noticed that the eyes make a difference is in kabuki actors, is because kabuki actors tend to be like all the same family. So it'll be like the father, the son's son, the son's grandson. You know, it's all those things. So like kabuki actors tend to be like all in the same family, so they all have the same faces. That's the only time I've ever realized that like Japanese people have the same eyes or anything like that, which is really weird. I've never realized like Japanese or Koreans and Chinese like eye difference. It's all like cheekbones, like facial like roundness or like slenderness, things like that, like narrow jaw line or something like that is the only like difference I ever see. But then whenever you get into the islands of like different Asian countries, it all gets effed up because like islanders are kind of like a mixed breed, you know, from travel and trade from like throughout the decades.
Are you saying that Islanders are mutts?
Basically,
That's not cool,
islanders
man.
are
That's
little
bad.
Okay, this is all I'm going to say. So if you see that Chinese people, Koreans, or Asians have slightly slanted eyes, without being racist, it's a fact. I'm just going to say they have slanted eyes or slit eyes. Here in Okinawa, early Japanese, I'm going to say, have very round eyes, like I would as a Westerner. So would Guam people have very round eyes. So would Philippine people have very round eyes. So would Samoans or something like that. Hawaiians. It's just how it goes, man.
Just how it goes.
It is what
That's
it is.
the way she goes, bud.
Sometimes she goes, sometimes she doesn't.
Man, that curled mustache is pretty fucking sexy.
Imagine if I put some
Pretty
beard
fucking
oil on it and actually like really curled it.
Yeah, both of you
not,
guys
not
have
you, Jed.
nice curls. Well, Lane called it out.
That's okay. You know, Lane can't grow any facial hair anyway.
My mother said was like Lane was growing that scruff or whatever, and she's like, "You look like a distinguished author, Lane." Oh my god.
She did say that too. That's so funny.
Yeah. If you didn't know, my mom watches every single podcast and loves them, and then comments this weird long paragraph about everything we talk about. So wonderful.
It's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, boys, what are you guys thinking?
I think I want to hear some more from Karl. Karl, what do
same.
you want to talk about, man? Tell us about what's going on. You got anything you want to do?
Anything you're passionate
about?
about?
What's your next step? What's the next step here in Karl's life?
Well, I mean, I'm at this crossroads at this point. where I could kind of go different places. What path to take? I mean, it being pandemic season, I'm not really. I mean, I'm just not doing anything, so I'm just kind of thinking about where I might go once the world is normal.
Yeah.
Or adapts is probably a better word to use. But like at some point, I'd like to go on and get my a doctorate degree in either composition or music theory or something. And then eventually like teach at a university or something like that. If I can get a job like that, that would be fun. But I mean, short term, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, my plan was to graduate and then find like a teaching job as like an adjunct professor or something like that. But that's not happening right now. Can't teach in person anywhere, and just like job prospects aren't super great anyways. But I've always had this interest in linguistics and like language learning and stuff like that. So I've been tossing around the idea of like getting certified to teach English as a foreign language and either like teach abroad or something like that, or teach remotely and do like online classes, or like teach online classes remotely and then just like kind of move around wherever I want. So
Mark actually knows a little bit about teaching English.
Yeah, I volunteer, obviously, because I don't have my bachelor's. But, I mean, I love it. It's a really rewarding experience. You know, I'm going to go through, like, the rigmarole. You'll love yourself. You'll love what you do. You'll be very passionate. You'll feel wonderful bestowing another language upon children, you know. But in reality, you'll make good money and you'll have a really good time in another country. You'll be able to take a lot of experience, a lot of culture. Shit, man. It's amazing. Like, get out of this American bubble. I really think America has this very, very hard, very encased bubble of what it is. I mean, we let in these cultures, right? But we convert them into Americanized cultures. And whenever you breach that, you step out, then you burst this bubble of what your reality is, of course. And if you're in Japan, if you're in Korea, if you're in China, if you're in Hong Kong maybe, or Taiwan. Taiwan's wonderful. Taiwan #1. India, Thailand, Vietnam, these places, you can teach English. You could even teach English, like in the aspects of like teaching music in English. I really recommend that like you pursue these things because they're very, very, very rewarding. I teach English because I wanted to get involved with my community. So me and my wife teach English to our local city ward office, to the like elementary school children. You know, they know me as Mark Sensei. I know them as XYZ kid. And, you know, I know their parents. We can go around. I go with their dads and grandpas drinking. We know each other. We have a good time. And it's really rewarding because, like, I can experience Japanese culture and I'm not just teaching them, but I'm, like, in the community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not an outsider anymore, and I'm in the community, and I'm getting all this feedback and, like, this love and warmth from what I put in to everything.
Yeah, and you just need
So
your 4-year degree,
I can't
right?
recommend it highly. Like, I can't recommend it more. Like, it's amazing experience. Even if you just do it for like 1 or 2 years, you'll get so much more out of it than you put in, for sure.
And you just need a bachelor's degree to do that, right? To actually like teach.
Yeah. It's crazy. You just need a bachelor's degree and literally anything, because then you're considered a professional in your field. of English language.
Very cool. Very cool.
So
I'm sure that. Go ahead.
Do you? Because like I don't know any Asian languages or anything, so I mean, like, do you need to have a really good understanding of like the native language, or can you just come in as like this ignorant English speaker and kind of?
Now they prefer that you don't have such a strong language perspective, I guess. Now, whenever I say that, I mean that from the aspect of like big city Japanese schools and things like that, because they want like these young, culturally influenced, like young culture, modern culture kids to come in and teach like English to these other, these elementary, these high school students and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you go to China, they were like, oh, we don't have a teacher that actually speaks English. Like she on paper speaks English, but it's like terrible or something like that.
Sure.
So then at that point, you have to really have strong Chinese skills to like teach your students.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've heard, I don't necessarily know. Chinese students will like get around, jump around, like fight a teacher because they don't want to do whatever the fuck you want to tell them to do. They want to do what they want to do, and it's like money talks, bullshit walks. You can't really control a student if they have money. Now in Japan, there's no way, absolutely no way that kids act that way. So you have more control as a teacher. It's more of a like Western style atmosphere where you can punish a student and you can reward a student at the same time, and things go to like your standard and your pace. I don't know about Korea. I think it's more so like Japan because it's modernized and not like crazy communist. But at the same time, you can, you make the most out of it as you can whenever you're teaching. So that's the most I can say about that.
Nice.
All right. Well, I think that's going to have to do it for today. I got some stuff to do. I know Lane's pretty tired. Didn't get any sleep last night. Karl, thanks so much for being on the podcast. It worked out like way better than we could have imagined. You and Mark lined up on this folklore, and we all kind of got with the music genre, and we both got the mustache going on. It's been fantastic. I look forward to hearing from you in a year or two after this pandemic's over to see, where you take your music degree, what you do in your life, and, it's an absolute pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, you texted me this morning, and I was laying in bed, and I was like, well, all right, I'll join you for this. So, yeah, but if anybody is watching this and wants to hear more of what I've done musically, I do have a SoundCloud. Just type in my name, Karl Steffens, Karl, and my last name Steffens is Stef, like Frank, ANS. And I've got some of my like the classical stuff I've done up on there. If you want to hear like my metal band from high school, you can go on bandcamp.com. It's All the Way Alive was the name of the band. So I think it's All the Way Alive Music /bandcamp.com, I think is that URL. But anyways, you should find it. But yeah, sorry, just gotta kind of do that plug.
You gotta plug it. You gotta plug it.
We'll put that in our description for sure, man.
Oh, sweet.
And,
well, yeah, thanks for having me on. It was great to meet you guys and see you again, Jed.
Good to see you too.
Yeah. Thanks, Karl.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.